welcome to Thai PBS World Tonight. You are with Nat Bunnag and Tulip Nagsapopla.
Sawadee very good evening as well. And we'll begin the program tonight with updates on the long-term resident visa. And the good news is that the LTR fee has been halved to 50,000 baht for foreigners who want to stay in Thailand. So according to the deputy government spokesperson, Rashada Thanadirek, Thailand's cabinet decided to cut the long-term resident or LTR visa fee by half to 50,000 baht for foreigners who have high capability or potential and want to stay in the country for up to 10 years. The measure, which is to come into effect 90 days after it is published in the Royal Gazette, is targeting 4 groups of foreigners, their spouses, and no more than 4 children who are not over 20 years old. And the 4 groups are high-income individuals, foreign pensioners, people who want to work from Thailand, and specialists. The incentive is to encourage foreign investment in Thailand and to stimulate the economy with an aim of up to 1 million such foreigners entering and staying in Thailand in the next 5 years. And they could inject up to 1 trillion baht into the Thai economy, including 800 billion baht in investments. And the decision is to update the guidelines and conditions originally approved in September last year to attract foreigners with high capability or potential to stay in Thailand long term. And according to the revised guidelines, pensioners and wealthy foreigners, for instance, must have insurance coverage of at least $50,000 to cover medical fees, which is valid for at least 10 months, or a social security certificate covering their medical expenses while in Thailand, or a cash deposit of at least $100,000 in a domestic or a foreign bank account for 12 months before applying for the visa. High-income earners must have an average annual income of $80,000 for the 2 years prior to applying for the visa. The foreign specialist must produce an employment contract from a business in Thailand or abroad. They are also required to produce evidence that they have worked in the targeted industries for at least 5 of the 10 years prior to applying for the visa. And the exceptions are made for work in Thai state universities, government research institutes, specified state training institutes, or for those who have a PhD. So this is definitely very interesting that the fee has been cut by half, and that will help attract more foreigners into Thailand, especially the ones who want to stay like for up to 10 years.
Yes. Were you going to say forever?
Yeah. Right.
Well, if you want to stay long term, this is your chance to apply, I guess. And when we're talking about education in Thailand, we often have to talk about the quality of education and in average, and also the accessibility and the reform that we have been talking to for so many times. But according to the latest survey, and the Ministry of Public Health has been doing this survey every year, apparently. And according to the latest survey, this is according to the minister himself. Minister Anutin said that the average IQ or intelligence quotient of Thai children is actually rising. It's in the level that is actually surprisingly good, which is mean like over 10%, they have IQ above 130, and that is very high. The average intelligence quotient or IQ for Thai children is on the rise, according to Minister Anutin, from an average of 98.3 in 2016 to 102.8 in 2021, while 10.4% of the students surveyed have an IQ above 130, according to the result nationwide survey. And the minister said that the survey, based on the standard progressive matrices or SPM, which are a group of individually administered tests that non-verbally assess intelligence in children and adults through abstract reasoning tasks. And the survey was conducted on more than 21,000 grade 1 and 2 students during the first quarter and last 2 months of last year. It also shows that 4.2% of young students have an intellectual disability. Complete data was only available in 61 provinces, with data in the remaining provinces incomplete due to problem posed by the COVID-19 pandemic. Noting the high ratio of students with an IQ above 130, the Deputy Director of the Mental Health Department, who oversaw the research, told Thai PBS World that the figures reflect an inequality in Thai society and further studies are needed to tackle the gap. So only roughly 2% of the global population who have taken the test have IQ over 130, according to our worldindata.org. And test sites such as iqtestprep.com and 123.test.com, Thailand is not among the 25 countries and territories with the highest national average IQ in Forbes magazine in 2019 list, which puts Singapore on top of the list at 107.1. The findings also show that the average IQ of the majority of Thai school children exceeds the standard level set at 100 by the National Economic and Social Development Council in its 12th National Development Plan, according to Public Health Minister Anutin Charnvirakul. So compared to the survey conducted in 2016, the percentage of children with an IQ of 90 has dropped from 91.8% to 21.7%, reflecting the cooperation of all parties concerned in the efforts to develop the children to become quality adults. This is what Mr. Anutin said. So I think what's interesting here is, if given that our survey is up to the world standard, it means our children, in average, is doing much better. They have good, can I say they have good brain? They have good thing to start with. So It's up to adult to make sure that we provide them with good learning environment and education and everything to make sure they can grow up to be, like they said, a good quality adult.
Right. Even though the IQ is very important among children, but we also have to care about another thing. It's called EQ, which is related to emotional intelligence. And if we actually care about both things at the same time, then children can grow up and turn into good quality adults like we hope for. And now let's move on to the issue related to COVID-19. We've been talking about vaccines for the younger people, and recently Thailand's FDA has approved 2 vaccines in younger people, which are Covovax and Spikevax. So the Thai Food and Drug Administration, or the TFDA, has approved the extended use of India's Covovax to cover those aged 12 to 17 instead of 18 and older, and the extended use of Moderna's Spikevax in children aged 6 to 11 instead of 12 and older. And according to the TFDA Secretary General, Dr. Paisan Dankum, he said that those aged 12 to 17, 2 doses of Covovax vaccine will be administered 3 weeks apart. And in the case of Spikevax, 2 doses will be administered to children aged 6 to 11 with a 4-week interval between the first and second doses. So Spikevax is a COVID-19 vaccine for people aged 6 and older, but it does not contain the virus and it cannot cause COVID-19, but it contains a messenger RNA molecule with instructions for producing a protein from the SARS-CoV-2 virus, which causes COVID-19. And if we remember, back in April, Thailand's Public Health Ministry received 200,000 doses of Covovax produced in India from Quad countries, which comprises Australia, India, Japan, and the United States. In the same month, the TFDA approved the emergency use of Covovax in individuals aged 18 and older. Meanwhile, Public Health Minister Anutin Charnvirakul said that so far, only 54% of children aged 5 to 11 have received a first dose of vaccine, and 17% have received their second dose. The minister chaired a meeting of the National Communicable Disease Committee today to discuss preparatory measures jointly worked out by the Public Health Ministry and the Education Ministry to cope with the resumption of on-site classes at schools across the country on May 17th. Besides the Covovax and Spikevax vaccines, Anutin said that the Public Health Ministry is negotiating with AstraZeneca Thailand for the procurement of long-acting antibody medication, which has been tested on patients who are immunocompromised, such as those with kidney disease or who have undergone organ transplant. So this is definitely interesting that there are 2 more vaccines that children can actually use.
That is a good news, actually. I mean, the more choices we have, because everybody have different condition with their body and whatnot, so they can be, what's it called, more risk to allergic to something or less risk to allergic to something. So more choice is better. And talking about choices and options you have for vaccine, when we first start having this vaccine available in Thailand, people just have to grab whatever they have access to because we didn't have much variety. But right now at Bangsi Station in Bangkok, you have options of 3 kinds of vaccines that you can choose. There are Pfizer, AstraZeneca, or Sinovac. So people who want to get vaccinated against COVID-19 at the Central Vaccination Center at Bangsi Grand Station in Bangkok can now choose the vaccine type. Those getting booster shots can choose their intramuscular or subcutaneous injection, according to a recent announcement from the vaccination center. So Pfizer, AstraZeneca, and Sinovac vaccines are available at site for free for all Thai and non-Thai nationals, either through advanced booking via mobile phone operator or walk-in. Those who pre-book can go straight to vaccination without registration after receiving a form for completion. Those who have been vaccinated at the Bangsi Center before will receive a text message informing them of the date and time of their next dose. So those over 12 years old who do not pre-book can just walk in through gate 2 or gate 3 for those age 5 to 11. So it's different gate, but I'm sure when you are there has to be some kind of signage or someone you can ask where to go to. So only the intramuscular vaccination is for the first and second doses. The third dose, which can be intramuscular or subcutaneous, must be at least 90 days from the second dose, and there must be at least 120-day interval between the third and the fourth dose. The vaccination center at Bangsi is the capital's largest vaccination facility, which has been providing free inoculations for over a year, while other state facilities have closed as infections have slowed down. So far, up to 56.4 million people in Thailand, or 81.1% of the population, have received at least 1 vaccine dose against COVID-19, and 26.7 million of whom, or 38.5%, have got their booster shots. So I think 80% is quite a good-looking number considering.
Right, and especially with the plans to consider COVID-19 as an endemic disease, even though there is still a lot more to do to get the whole population fully vaccinated against COVID-19, but there are some good signs to be proud of. And now let's talk about the weather, as we've been seeing heavy rain during the past couple of days. And unfortunately, it looks like Thailand will still be rainy up until tomorrow due to a tropical cyclone. So Thailand's meteorological department is warning of heavy rain in some areas, including flash floods and overflows today and tomorrow caused by a tropical cyclone in the Bay of Bengal. At the same time, thunderstorms are also forecast for Bangkok and its vicinities. The Met Office explained that tropical cyclone Asani developed near the coast of India with maximum wind speeds of 93 kilometers per hour. The cyclone is moving northwest and is expected to make landfall along the central coastline of India today or tomorrow. So because of this, waves in the Andaman Sea are expected to reach 1 to 2 meters in height. Waves in the Gulf of Thailand are forecast at 1 meter, while in areas with thunderstorms, they will rise up to 2 meters. The department also warned that in the northern and eastern parts of Thailand, thunderstorms and heavy rain can be expected in over 70% of the area, while in the northeast, central, including Bangkok, and southern areas, thunderstorms and heavy rain are forecast for at least 60% of the area. And as we previously reported, the Met Office has already announced that Thailand will officially enter its rainy season in mid-May, with the season expected to last until mid-October. So if you do have to go outside, just don't forget your umbrellas or even your raincoats.
It feels like rainy season come early this year. I mean, it's not even
Yeah.
mid-May yet, and just a couple of days ago, it's rained like we are in the middle of rainy season or something.
Exactly, because like a couple of days ago, it was raining heavily at Thai PBS as well.
Yeah. Well, and that's all the news we have for you in this edition of Thai PBS World Tonight. But you can also check our website for more news. We have explainer analysis, exclusive interview, and a lot more things for you to enjoy on www.thaipbsworld.com. We also have Facebook, we have Twitter, we have YouTube as well.
And don't forget to join us on Thai PBS World Tonight every weekdays at 7 p.m. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow. สวัสดีค่ะ